very good evening to all. This is Rashmi from Hyderabad. On behalf of Mr. Brahma Prakash Gaurji and Hemaji, I extend my warmest welcome to our guest speaker of this evening, Col Dr Vijay Jainji, and to all the members of this group who are with us this evening. Before we move ahead for this evening, I would request you all to kindly join me to offer our gratitude in the form of a small prayer to Almighty. Atma tvam girijamati sahachara prana shariram griham pujate vishayopbhog rachana nitra samadhi sthitihi sanchara padayo pradakshina vidhihi sotrani sarvagiro yadyat karma karomi tat dakhilam shambho tavaradhanam shambho tavaradhanam shambho tavaradhanam. As we all know that our guest speaker for the day, Col Vijay, is a veteran, is a scholar, is a seeker. And his journey from a brave heart soldier to an ardent seeker is very interesting to know, but it's very difficult to describe in short. So for that, I have found a way. I have framed him in just 2 lines, in which you will get to know how Col Vijay became and got Vijay in life. So I just read it out. तलाशते रहे जो विजय ता उम्र वो बंदूकों और बारूदों संग देश की सीमाओं और सरहद में, वो उनकी जिंदगी के अगले पन्नों में ही बैठी थी, वो उनकी जिंदगी के अगले पन्नों में ही बैठी थी, वेदों, पुराणों और उपनिषद में। तो कर्नल विजय की सरहद से उपनिषद तक की यात्रा हम अगर उनके शब्दों में सुनेंगे तो बहुत अच्छी है, लेकिन उससे पहले मैं शॉर्ट में उनकी प्रोफाइल आपको देती हूँ, which goes like this. Col Dr Vijay is an alumnus of NDA Khadakwasla. During his service, he took part in Bangladesh War in 1971 and also got Army Chief's Commendation for bravery while fighting insurgency in Northeast. He did his PhD in Sanskrit from Tirupati University as a regular student after his retirement, leaving all the comfort of home behind. Passion, thy name is Col Vijay. He is a voracious reader and a prolific writer. He has already authored 2 books. He has an esoteric knowledge of Vedas, Upanishad, etc., which he is going to tell you in a moment to come. Presently, he is running an international think tank which deals with geopolitical issues. So this was his accomplishments on career, academic, and spiritual front. And for the further elaboration, I would request him to take this evening ahead. Col Vijay, evening ahead is yours.
Namaskar, good evening to you all, ladies and gentlemen. I start with invoke a small prayer. Sahana vavatu, sahana bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahe, tejasvina vadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. At the outset, thank you, Gaut Saab, for creating such a wonderful divine outfit and a gift for all of us to soak in bliss. and I don't mince words. I'm being very honest about it. It's a platform for all genuine seekers to share each other's experience. And Tuesday gatherings has now become like a kind of weekend retreat where people can come and unwind themselves. My thanks also to Hemaji, who with her meticulous and efficient ways, she's ruthlessly efficient, I would say, to make sure that nothing is left to chance. And then I admire her enthusiasm and a sense of commitment. And she's so qualified. And she's really an asset to this organization. Uh, Lastly, my special thanks to Mrs. Rashmi Singh for her very generous words about what she said about me. That small composition at the initial, I think it's a beautiful creation. I'm very grateful to her. And just let me tell you, just in the interest of all, whatever she said, even if you can discount 50% of that, I'll still be very happy. And she's a wonderful person, and I've known both Colonel and Mrs. R.B. Singh, and uh, for the last over 7 years, they're a charming couple. And you must believe me, because every time I go to Hyderabad, the biggest honor in Sanatan Dharma one can give is call somebody for the meal to his house. And Atithi Devo Bhava, that is the spirit in which they treat, and I'm really grateful to them. Thank you, ma'am. Now, before I begin, I would like to play a small clip uh, invoking the blessings of the Almighty. It resonates our true inner state. If you recall, Vivek Bhau in his very first talk, he had mentioned about Shankaracharya as an 8-year-old small kid loitering on the banks of river Narmada, accosted by Sri Govind Brahmapadaji, later on who became his guru. And when the gentleman asked this young boy about his identity, he came out with a spontaneous outburst of philosophical composition, which has become immortal and called Nirvana Shatakam. And I think Vivek Bhavu beautifully had explained that. In very simple terms, it is profound words. The prodigy gave to the world the truth about infinite consciousness. And it is sung by one of our ashramites who is now in US. And let's enjoy this beautiful composition. May I request Hemaji to kindly play this. And you can close your eyes and soak in a little brief meditation. We'll come back again. Thank you.
मनोबुद्ध्यहङ्कार चित्तानि नाहं न च श्रोत्रजिह्वे न च घ्राणनेत्रे न च तेजो न वायुः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं न च प्राणसंज्ञो न वै पञ्चवायुः न वा सप्तधातुर्न वा पञ्चकोशाः न वा न चोपस्थपादौ चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मे द्वेषरागौ न मे लोभमोहौ मदो नैव मे नैव मात्सर्यभावः न धर्मो न चार्थो न कामो न मोक्षः चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न पुण्यं न पापं न सौख्यं न दुःखं न मन्त्रो न तीर्थं न वेदा न यज्ञाः अहं भोजनं नैव भोज्यं न भोक्ता चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं चिदानन्दरूपः शिवोऽहं शिवोऽहं न मृत्युर्न शङ्का न मे जातिभेदः पिता नैव मे नैव माता च जन्म न बन्धुर्न मित्रं गुरुर्नैव शिष्यः चिदानन्दरूपः
Namaskar once again. Am I audible, please? Okay. Thank you very much. I listen to this almost every day, either in the morning or at night during meditation. It calms you down, and I always visualize a 8-year boy singing this, and it's in very simple Sanskrit. And if you understood, if you can connect with that, you will get a lump in the throat and tears in the eyes. And every uh, day and every night it happens. It's a good way of internal cleansing. Okay, now I come down to the sort of the conduct of today's my talk. Uh, since the group here, I guess is mainly of my peer group, people of 60 and above. So most of what I'm going to speak is which will directly have, impact on your, you'll be able to connect with me. We have gone through all those experiences, and for those who are that much younger, they can always they have an opportunity of taking few lessons from this, and we don't have that luxury because what has gone is gone. I can't undo any of those things, but the younger people can take a positive lesson out of this, and maybe they will be able to sort of put their things on track. And so to that an extent, their presence is as important, and especially for people like us who are free of career growth and social responsibilities, and who don't get easily charmed by the glitz and glamour of the miracles. So, chamak jamak ki dunya jaise na, that's all over for us, and we are looking for something, and we are in the best phase of life. So whoever said 60 plus is a goner, I think this is the best period of one's life, provided the one is healthy. I'll come to that a little later. And for many in the younger group, of course, they'll find it useful. They can make changes in their life. Now, I'll divide the talk, into 4 parts. The first and second will basically be concerning me. And the reason why I want to give about my own thing is, it put things in perspective later on how things develop. Otherwise, there's nothing much I want to say about myself. I grew up in Bangalore, and in a very diverse environmental ecosystem. Both my grandparents, my paternal and this thing, they were two contrasting families, and one was very liberal and the other was extremely orthodox. I was caught up in a very conflicting situation, and this contradiction did impact my life later. While it was laughter and fun and full of uh, energy and all at my maternal home, the atmosphere in my paternal home was strict discipline. We all were made to get up at 5:30. It was almost like living in an ashram. We were made to get up at 5:30, and everybody had to finish the chores by 6:30. And and thereafter we used to, for every event, there used to be either a mantra or some kind of ritual, and then you would go back. Nobody would be allowed to. But on my maternal grandfather, there's a bedlar. You come from anywhere, go to the kitchen, eat anything, get Hindi songs and that sort of. So you can imagine somebody growing up in that kind of environment. With the result, I used to avoid going to we were a lot of cousins, 14, 15 of them, large joint family in both houses, and we never went the other side. And so just like I saw Gorsa with his granddaughter sitting on the lap and that kind of a thing, we had on one side, on the other side, there used to be very, very strict regimentation. But as years passed, I grew the value system. Today I hold my paternal grandfather in very high esteem because they taught us the basic things of human, whatever we are talking today in Vedanta, Advaita, and it was all there. It was almost like an ashram. So how things change, how perceptions change. So that's so one could not speak there out of turn. loudly during meals. You could not complain about meals. I'll narrate a very small, interesting incident. A lot of people, we all used to sit down and have the food. The one day, as there was some sabji or dal, something, we started looking at each other, and then I looked at my father, and my father looked at his father. So my grandfather, there were five of them. So even a second grandfather, number two in the order, if he wanted something, if my grandfather said no, that was it. We could not. So you can imagine it. It was almost like a police station with a lot of discipline. But then at the end of the food, there was a lot of chaos. Because what had happened when the ladies sat down inside for their food, they realized that there was no salt at all. And then, of course, the head lady, she took on everybody. She says, this is not on, that kind of a thing. So my father would always say, the moment you give priority for food and other things, you're gone. Your education is gone. Then you're concentrating on your senses. You have no control over your mind. So I just gave this example just to see how things were. And it was like that. It was in Bangalore during those days. Then later on, of course, we left for Hyderabad. I had my education there. And then we went to Bombay. So we got cut off from that. And I grew up in a very cosmopolitan kind of a thing. And I was barely 16 when I joined the National Defense Academy. And then after my training there, went to Dehradun Indian Military Academy. I was commissioned into the Maratha Light Infantry. And one of the very prestigious and oldest regiments of the Indian Army. I wanted that and I had no regret. My first posting was in Srinagar, not in Srinagar. Srinagar is only for other people, but I was posted on one of the forward posts with about 30, 40 men, and I was a lieutenant, and I was on test. Normally in the infantry, you're tested with the men, So we had about 35, 40 men. And then, but one thing I want to recount here, I think there's a lot of similarity in what General Kundra the other day he narrated. All infantry battalions have similar situations. I was ordered to take out a patrol and go and occupy a post in the month of March. I still remember 1st March 1970. We left at 4:30 in the morning, about 22 men with all our equipment, heavy baggage. And it was about 12-hour walk and with very heavy equipment. We started at 4:30 in the morning and reached at 5 after a lot of tough climb and all that. There was a lot of snow at that time. And the moment we reached, we wanted to settle down for the night. And there was a very heavy snow again. And on top of that, one of our Jawans complained of chest pain, severe chest pain, and he had breathing trouble. So immediately we knew that he was suffering from pulmonary edema. It's a medical condition, typical in high altitude, when the oxygen levels fall below certain levels. And if it's not evacuated in time, then it invariably leads to fatality. So I was in a dilemma. I didn't know what exactly. I consulted my senior DCO over there at that time. He said, "Sab, inko to niche leke jana hi padega." Then I spoke to my headquarters. They said, "You pull back immediately. Life is more important." It was a peace time. So I went on to the radio set. The medical officer came on. He said, "You bring him down as much as possible, as early as possible." And we had traveled for 12 hours. We packed again. Somebody had to carry him. So I asked any volunteers, and I wanted 4 of them. There were 6 of them. We put him on our back, one by one. The trekking started back. Then I told the others, "You follow back." And then the real test started now. As we walked back, the fresh snow was there, and the track had been obliterated, and fresh snow was falling on the trees, very tall trees. So one could walk into a gap and fall into that and direct about 20, 30 feet. So the whole petrol pump vanished. So it was a very, very painful walk back. And after about 2 hours of walk, I found that the boy was sinking and he became unconscious. And he said, "Sir, mere ko bacha lo." So, and he was just about 21 years old, almost same age as mine. And then what happened? Then I found a small little creek and this thing. I thought, why not go directly and do the hike? Because the RMO was on the line, medical officer. He says, try and bring him down to the river level, to the floor level, even if it is on the other side. So immediately we made some device and we brought him down. In about 2 hours, we brought him to the river line and he recovered. We put some water and all that. By that time it was midnight, and thereafter I knew that he was safe. Then we went on to our base where the medical officer had turned up. By that time it was 2 or 3 in the morning, and then they had brought a mule and they gave him the first aid and took him away. A stage had come when I would say, let him not die in my arms. That was the desperate situation, but it was all a learning curve. And then from my the base post, I walked back, and along with these 4 boys, the rest of the people were fetching up from behind. And then when I reached my headquarters, it was about 10:30, 11. And there my commanding officer was, he was desperately waiting the thing. And, in the army, we had a situation, we have a sort of practice wherein the junior officers are only seen, not heard. So he had never spoken to me in 6 months. Then immediately there was a call for me saying that साहब ने सीओ साहब ने राम राम बोला है. राम राम बोला है means सीओ साहब ने बुलाया है. So my earlier joke was when once my company commander, he had called company commander साहब ने राम राम बोला है. I told him उनको भी मेरा राम राम बोल देना. He said नहीं साहब ऐसा नहीं होता, आपको जाना पड़ेगा. Anyway, I went, and then my CEO was very happy. He said, "It's a great job you've done." He says, "I can tell you one thing, your men has accepted you as a leader." Now, that is a kind of satisfaction, and it was just about, I had about 8-10 months service. And thereafter, my second experience was during the war, 71 war. War was a great experience. It is 14 days. I lost a lot of my own friends, my men, and it's not a very pleasant experience. But the fact is, at the end, when you win the war, when we went into Pakistan and planted our Indian national flag, so that was the deciding moment. And then thereafter, it was a roller coaster ride for my service, ups and downs. We went to all the places. I had the good fortune of the traveling to so many cities, towns, making new friends, and so on. Then my next was then there were about 90,000 Pakistani soldiers whom we had captured, and I had whether you call it a good fortune, it was just a duty. I was posted in Meerut at that time, and we were looking after 4,000 prisoners. And that was the time I saw the Pakistanis. There was about 50 officers and the remaining men and JCOs, and we were guarding them, and we guarded them for about 1.5 years. And the kind of treatment we used to look after them, we treated them as soldiers and not like any of the, because earlier there were some other police forces who were put there, and there were a lot of complaints, and we had a good name for ourselves. And later on, they were very happy. In fact, a lot of Pakistani officers used to confess. We can tell you, if this kind of a situation was there in Pakistan, we would have never looked after you the way you people have done. Anyway, that's apart. Then I now come to the third stage. I quit the army a little before, and then because I wanted to venture out more to the academics and something, I was not interested in business or job. And then it was soon after my thing, I was in search of a guru. Normally when you get into this, they say it's a midlife blues. I don't know what they say, midlife blues and midlife crisis and all. These are all names given by universities and all. They mean nothing. Everybody goes through this stage, 20s and 30s and 40s. At the time my daughters were growing up, and there are a lot of responsibilities. And then since I was not doing a regular job, it was always there. But notwithstanding that, I wanted to get into spiritual. I was looking for a guru. I joined Art of Living for some time. It was a growing organization at that time. But soon I realized that I had reached a kind of saturation point. There was nothing much I could take beyond what I had got. Initially, it was quite good. Then one day I attended Swami Dayanand, of Rishikesh and Salzburg in US, his talk on Advaita Vedanta. And I was looking after that talk, I thought I would seek his diksha and take his, shishya, become a kind of shishya. But then it looked as if he had read my words. And he started with the thing, he says, some people are looking for gurus. He says, you don't look for a guru, because it happens when you come in contact with some Mahatma, and then both of you know that you are the right person and he is the right person for you. So, but still, those of you who are desperately looking for one, I can give a suggestion. He said, you worship Lord Dakshinamurti. And Dakshinamurti is an avatar of Shiva, and he is supposed to be the repository of knowledge, powerhouse of knowledge. So anybody who doesn't get a guru, he says, you look for Dakshinamurti, and he'll confer on you all his blessings. And I had latched onto it. I got that. I said, I don't have to look for anyone. And thereafter, I started and then I went to Swami Dayanandji. He said, you first learn Sanskrit if you want to. And that was my motivation. And thereafter, of course, it was a very slow process. It's about 10 years now, and I have got no regrets. I think I've come to the right the place where, and on top of that, organization like this, I sort of they tend to share what little I know. And now this is whatever the talk from here on is not a scripted thing. It is a very, very general talk. I'm not very good at either public speaking or it's just that I want to express and share some of my experiences. Now, the first thing is, any person you want to take up anything, let's understand what is spirituality. Spirituality is a very, very vast sort of subject. If in a class of 50, you ask the meaning of spirituality or the definition, you will get 50 answers. Have a discussion, and next day call them again, you ask them, you get 50 other answers. So spirituality is a very, very vast kind of a thing. It's not very specific. People are still trying to understand. And so there are two worlds. One is the spiritual world, and the other is the material world. What you get. It is material world is Laukika Prapancha. We call it Laukika Prapancha. That is, and here everything, there are certain rules and regulations we follow in Laukika Prapancha. In spiritual world, there is no such thing, because in our world, we see the world through the senses, and the mind controls the senses. And then this doesn't happen in spiritual world. Now that is the reason why a lot of people don't understand the world of spirituality, because you expect the same rules to be applied what is being applied here. Like if you take an example between, you are in India, there are certain rules which are there. We go as per constitution. There are certain rules, regulations. You go to US, the same thing doesn't happen there. There, if somebody asks for your identity, you can't show the Aadhaar card. It doesn't work. So the spiritual world is little different. Not little different, it's totally different. So people find it very difficult to connect. And then you can't have spirituality as a pastime. That is what you can't make it a fashion thing once in a go to the parties and say, okay, I know a little bit of Upanishad, you can't. It's a totally world altogether. But what is the connection? How do you connect between the Laukika and the Alaukika world? There must be some connection. There is a bridge. There is a virtual bridge. Now, how do you identify that bridge? That identification of the bridge comes through meditation. And when you're doing meditation, it is exactly what you're doing. Because you have a mind which is controlling the five senses. Without these senses, the world is meaningless. The world does not exist. That is why when you go to the sleep, there is no mind. And in the morning when you get up, you said, I had a good sleep, because it is free from all these things. And meditation is also kind of that. That's why among the younger people and people who don't believe in this subject about spirituality and all, they say, "Yeah, kahan jaake phas rahe ho, aaram se khao piyo, maaj karo." The people who say that, it's very difficult to explain to them that it's a different world altogether. And the real bliss lies there. See, most of us, we are looking for small little change, chote paise, and we are quite happy with it. But I'll give an example. For instance, the mind. What is a mind? A mind is a stream of thoughts and emotions. It's moving, and the faster it moves, the more muddier and the muck it is carrying. And underneath the river, underneath the stream, you have the floor. So if you go to Seychelles or Maldives or any of these, or even Karwar beaches and all, you see 40, 50, 60 feet, you see the earth is so clear underneath that. But in river, you don't see that. So what do? You put a dam, you arrest the flow of water. Once the water becomes still, you can see the Atma. You can see the flow. Now that is the Atma. So our mind is sort of constantly at work, even when you are in sleep, constantly at work. And then it keeps you all the time busy. And then you are not able to see the Atma, and you're only sort of happy with whatever you're able to collect from the banks on either side of the bank, and the river is flowing away. But you still the mind, and you see the calmness setting in of the mind. Then the senses take leave. And then you can see the real picture of the Atma. And that is where the bliss lies. So this is very briefly what Advaita sort of says, or what exactly the Vedanta says. That is. So now, how do we, now, what exactly are the prerequisites for a sadhak, for a person who has to become, you want to become spiritual. So you can't have, like I said, a pastime, a part-time kind of thing. Spirituality cannot be a hobby. And unfortunately, it has become a hobby in a lot of elite circles. So, and once you start going, it's a very slow process. But if you have the right guru who can, like in my case, my guru is still Dakshinamurti. So whenever I'm in a dilemma, I just close my eyes and pray to him, and I get some kind of a direction. Whether it is, some people say, you are imagining. I said, okay, so it be, even that is his grace, because imagination just doesn't come. It could go wrong, but whatever it is, but that's a part of the karma, which we'll be talking in the next part. Now, yeah, they're talking about spirituality. You have, once you are there, you start making a sort of routine, and you get into the thing. What are the three prerequisites which every sadhak or every person seeking spirituality should have? The first is he should be physically fit. There is a misconception amongst a lot of us saying that people who are spiritual need not be fit or need not be tough. He need not be, he can be just sitting in a meditation mode. By the way, our sadhus and all who are there, or the good old rishis during your, they used to be in Himalayas and sub-zero temperatures. Even today, they have very little to eat. They have very little, and still they survive. And they're very tough. You have to be physically tough. So that is one misconception which I must make it clear. And the second is mental toughness and mental and emotional. You cannot be emotionally weak, and your mental toughness. Both these are same two sides of the same coin. Physical toughness and mentally. If you are mentally sort of stable, you can be physically tough, and vice versa. And the third is, of course, the spiritual side, the intellectual and the spiritual side. Now, I'll take a little time in my what exactly I mean by how do you train yourself physically and keep yourself fit. Now, the first and most important thing in physical thing is ahara. In fact, in Gita also, if you say in one of the slokas, Krishna says in Gita, Yukta ahara viharasya, yukta sapno vibhodasya, yukta chestasu, yukta sapno vibhodasya, yoga bhavate dukkha. It's very clear. He said, appropriate right kind of food, right kind of exercise, right kind of rest. And that is what when we take the sorrow away. Sorrow is only an imagination of our thing. It's a towering kind of a thing. So, like I said, it is your thoughts. And if you are able to control your thoughts, to explain for those the sequence of your mind and your senses in Bhagavatam, and even in a few other, in Kathopanishad, there is a very beautiful description of a rath or a chariot. And I'm sure most of you know, it may be a repetition to some of you, but for the benefit of those who are listening for the first time, the horses are the senses, and the senses are outward. What one sense knows, the other sense does not know. Like the eyes can see, but it cannot hear. The ears can hear, but it cannot see. And so also all five of them. Now, all five of them, when they see their respective, they report to the brain, and brain carries out an analysis and makes out a kind of the picture. And that thereafter the intellect takes on. So basically the horses are the senses. Now, how do you control the horses? If you don't control the horses, they could the runaway helter-skelter. The horses are controlled by the reins. Now, the rein is the mind. And who controls the mind? It is by the intellect, the sarathi, or what you call the charioteer. And the whole ratha itself is your body. And then inside the ratha is the soul sitting in. The soul, although it is said as is a sakshi, soul also does influence. And soul also suffers because of it. So it is a very body, mind, soul complex, they call it. Mana, buddhi, ahankara, this sort of a thing. So this understanding of this analogy of ratha or a chariot to our thinking is very essential. Now, how do you keep your body the first thing is physically fit and clean. Outside, we all do that. We have ablutions, we have bath, we have shampoos, we have all sorts of things, from head to toe. We have the latest thing today. You go to parlors, you go to sauna bath or whatever it is. But internally, nobody knows what is the body like. We only have, if you have read in 8th or 9th class of medical thing, that's about all. And even doctors go by certain studies. But otherwise, internal cleansing is a very big problem. And there have been people with 30, 40, 50 years, body hasn't had a wash at all inside. It's something like a car, you keep wiping outside, but nobody has taken it to a garage, high-tech garage you have in Bangalore and Delhi and Hyderabad and all, wherein everything is given a sort of, we don't do that, we don't know how to do that. So that remains, and that it does impact. Now here I would like to slightly go into a little bit of detail. Now, as far as the body is concerned, there are three types of food. Now, this classification of food is my own analysis based on a number of things. A food which digests in 2 or 3 hours. There are food which are digested in 5 to 6 hours. And there's food which takes 18 to 20 hours. That is the standard normal food. Normal food takes about 18 to 22 hours. I'm not talking about non-vegetarian food and other hard food and all. They may take, I don't know, 25, 30 hours also. I'm not very sure. But a normal food, a proper meal. Now, these foods are 2 to 3 hours is your soft fruits, like papaya, where the pulp is there, where there's plenty of watermelon, where there's plenty of the water. It takes 2 to 3 hours. And your vegetables, whatever you're eating, that takes about 5 to 6 hours. And the rest of the food. Now, what exactly happens? When you eat, the food doesn't go by gravity. It goes by a process called peristalsis movement, like the way the earthworm moves. It doesn't go through the gravity. There it interacts with some juices, pancreas, bile, and whatever it is. Then it goes to small intestine, then it goes to the larger intestine, then it gets evacuated. Now, in the intestines, there are small little projections, like you wash a brush with your clothes washing brush. You have the bristles kind of a thing. Now, these are very sensitive. So when the food is passing through that, it absorbs. And if you have taken a food at 8 in the morning, that takes proper food I'm talking about. It takes about 18 hours to digest. But at 1, you already got your lunch ready. So you again tuck in. Then again at about 7:38, you have a dinner, you tuck in. In between at 4:35, somebody is good neighbor, somebody thinks your wife is good, some samosas, kachoris and all that is tuck in. So this whole system never gets a chance to digest. And who does this digesting part? It is what your Vivek Bhavat beautifully explained. Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, and all that. That is done by a thing called Prana Shakti. Now, Prana Shakti is a resident doctor. Prana Shakti looks after the well-being of the inside of the body, right from your mind to your thing. And the trouble with Prana Shakti is, or the problem is, it can perform only one job at a time. Like he's your driver. He can either drive you around or maintain the car. All day if you're driving, then the car is not maintained. So Prana Shakti is busy all the time digesting the food. It doesn't get time to repair the body. And how does the body get infected? You're eating, you have had a regular meal, and thanks to this British and Western kind of habits, we eat fruit after the meal is over. So you've taken a meal which takes about 18 hours to think. Then after that, you're taking something else. Then you take the fruits last, which is supposed to be most easily digestible. So the one which is to digest easily is waiting in the queue. If you are driving in the highways, you have these toll gates. Now, if the front vehicles are all heavy carriers, then light carriers, then cars, then autos, you can imagine the auto fellow will have to wait till all are cleared and he'll get tired. So also, the fruits can't wait beyond 2 to 3 hours. So what they decompose. And when they decompose, they stay in the intestines, and this small villi, I think it's called villi or something like that. Some doctors will be able to. It is inside the intestines, and they absorb this. All it forms a fungus. They absorb, and through the bloodstream, it goes to all parts of your body, and all your diseases are that. Whether it is BP or whether it is diabetes or whether I'm sorry, I'm not a medical doctor, but I have done a bit of studies of this Ayurveda and things like that, and also a bit of doctors wherever I come across, I speak to them. And I know a friend of mine who retired as a chief surgeon in Bangalore. I was talking to him one day. He says, Kansal, you won't believe it. The long intestines, which is very lengthy, it looks like a 30-year-old, old building in Bombay, which is that pipe, black water where it goes, completely choked. You can't believe it. So with that sort of a thing, diseases are bound to happen. So how do we now clean that? There are so many ways. I won't go into that. We all know. And enema is supposed to be a very, very foolproof thing. And once you have cleaned that, thereafter, there's another very easy way of cleaning is fasting. In our old traditions, if you must be knowing Sanskrit, those who are familiar with, there's a thing called Langanam Paramaushadam. Langanam Paramaushadam means fasting is the best medicine. Good old days, like in my parents' grandmother, one day fell sick. So we used to get pampered in my mother's place, but in my father's place, they said, don't give any food tonight, and next day morning we would be all right. So it is because the body has got a tremendous capacity to heal itself. And then also you must follow those 5 things. Krodha, Shoka, Bhaya, Ayasa, Viruddhana Bhojana, Taponalan, Rakta Pitta Prakopayet. That means there are no such thing as diseases. It is these 8 factors which bring in very serious disease. Krodha, anger. Anger is one of the supposed to be the biggest. Other things don't cause you disease. Shoka, always regretting. You're thinking of the past. Aisa ho gaya, always this thing, wallowing in self-pity and sorrow. Can you hear me? Okay. No, because the lights have gone here. So I thought.
Yeah.
Krodha, Shoka, Bhaya, fear. There are some people who have everything, but all the time there is a fear. Kya ho jayega? Because they are worried that what they have should not go away. That Krodha, Shoka, Bhaya, Ayasa, laziness. You procrastinate for everything. Keep putting off. Kal kar le, kal dekha jayega. Viruddhana Bhojana. Now, Viruddhana Bhojana is also a very interesting thing. He says, yaar, wo bhi wahi khata hai, main jo khata hu. Wo bilkul theek hai. How come? He used to eat so much, it's all the thing. Every body has got a particular svabhava. The trigunas, I won't go into that, then we will be going somewhere else. The trigunas which are there. So, and it is also related to a bit of karma. So, it's not necessary that, Viruddhana Bhojana is what is in disagreement with your body. Don't eat that. Like in Andhra, they have a lot of chilies. In Rajasthan, they have a lot of chilies. In the Northeast, they just don't use any of these masalas. So the food is a thing which you condition right from the childhood. Viruddhana Bhojana, Taponala, Rakta Pitta Prakopaya, excess use of salt, and this leads to blood pressure and all. And there is a way of also to counter this thing. How you, sorry, and Nitya Ahara Sevim. That means whatever you have simple food. Don't have Raga Dvesha. Don't have enmity or this thing against it. Even if it's the worst chap, just neglect. We don't have time. Ignore that person. And then Shamavan Aptopasevi Arogyam. That thing of forgiveness is a very big thing, because forgiveness, you're not doing him a favor, but you're taking a big load off yourself. So just ignore. Somebody was saying that I didn't even know. Ignorance is a big bliss. Sometimes you don't know, and then it is all in his imagination. And ultimately, he came and said, "Sorry, sir, I did with this." I said, "मेरे को पता ही नहीं था तूने कहा क्या था." So this all. So these are some of the things. Then next is your mental. Your mental thing. How do we? You may be physically very fit and very healthy also, but mentally, how do you keep yourself? One is the meditation. Do the meditation. If you got a guru, you people are very lucky. Most of you, I hear, I keep reading. You all been blessed with the guru who has been guiding some of you for long years. I haven't so far had one because I was told at Dakshinamurti, Lord will send a guru at some point of time. Till then, you have got to be happy with him. And I'm very happy with him, to be honest. Okay. Now, so meditation. The second is japa. Do a lot of japa. A simple japa like Om. Om is a very, very powerful mantra for the benefit of those who do not know. They think, "Yaar, Om mein kya hai kya?" But Om is properly understood and properly chanted. You will get very tired. You say Om 40 times, it can be very tiring. Provided you do it the proper way. You just said Om, it's not that. There is Om consists of three parts. It comes from the lower abdomen side, then to the chest diaphragm, then to the mind, and then it goes Om. And the best way of saying, some people say Om, Om. It's not like that. You just open your mouth and say, just close your mouth with the sound coming in, it becomes Om. Like it's a so you don't have to go by that. Only thing is make sure it comes from the lower part of the stomach and then the chest. Say it about 30 times. It can be very, very effective mantra. Or if you have Rama as a mantra, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna as a mantra. These are all very powerful mantras. And one can take them seriously. I can tell you, we can practice that. But if you know more mantras, to start off with 2-3 mantras in the morning, Asatama, Sajnamya, Tamsoma, or Purnamada, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudichatya. Learn about Pratasmaranam. There's a very beautiful small book. There are about 8-10 mantras. Before meals you have, before your. And this is where I find my childhood, some of these things, although I learned very reluctantly, but they have come very handy to me. And they're really nice. This is what we must sort of pass it on to our younger generation. Unfortunately, my grandchildren stay abroad. So, there they don't have that kind of atmosphere. Now, the third thing is, the last one is, it's already 5:30, it's about 1 hour since it started. And the last one is your physical, emotional, and spiritual. In spiritual, be in good company. A company like this is very good, because people come with a very open kind of a thing. There's nothing one can give to the other except some love and affection and some good bit of advice we take from each other. Otherwise, try and avoid a place where there is a lot of talk on politics and unnecessary things. Evening, the chat shows which goes on where people are fighting, nobody knows who's talking what, and then one gets involved. That is how you get your mind gets involved into the thing. And in chapter 2 of Gita, there's a very beautiful sloka. It is called Jyayato Vishyan Punsaha Sangasteshu Pajayate Sanga Sanjayate Kama Kama Krodha Vijay. It's so beautiful. This is 62, sloka 62 of second chapter of Gita. And it says that Dhyayato Vishyan Punsa. It says man's mind goes for a particular thing. Like I said, the mind and the senses are there, and then it gets attached to that. It starts liking that. And if it cannot acquire that, then he starts getting frustrated. He starts getting angry. Dhyate Vishwan Pusta Sangasteshu Pajate Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kama Krodho Vijay. That, and along with that, normally the sloka is to be read with 63, sloka 63 also. And they both, that thing. Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha, Sammoha Smriti Vibhramaha, Smriti Vibhramshat Buddhinasho, Buddhinashat Pranashyat. It is a sequence to that. Then what happens? A person gets angry, and then in that anger, he loses his sense of logic, and there's a confusion. And that confusion leads to loss of intellect. And when the loss of intellect takes place, then Buddhinasha. This is what happened to Duryodhana. So if you connect to all these old Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and all this, it's very, it becomes very, very sort of relevant. Now we come to the next thing is the theory of the karma, which is what. Now, what exactly is karma? And among the educated classes in India, especially from the cities and all, those who don't believe in sort of this sort of a thing, they say spirituality is not science, but in the 20th century, there are 2 or 3 great scientists, Einstein, who was known for his theory of relativity, and then he was defied by a person by name Niels Bohr, who talked about quantum theory. Science has got a very limited sphere they act in. It is called, if you take the acronym STEM, STEM means space, time, energy, and matter. Science can only operate within that. They cannot go beyond that. Whereas spirituality goes far, far beyond that. If I close my eyes and make up my mind, I can be on the moon. But science has got a particular limitation. But this quantum theory, it kind of demolishes that, and it says there is, so they are yet to, science is still far away, but they have agreed on one thing, yes, there is, spirituality is a kind of science, which are rishis, their thing has been vindicated. They have said this thousands of years back. And you find that's why the Vedas are what? Vedas don't have any authorship. Vedas are revelations of these rishis who had done penance, and Vedas are not one-time text. These revelations came over a period of time, and it was only Vyasa with his very wide thing, he had put the thing. And Vyasa has written so much, your Brahma Sutras and Mahabharata and all these things. You'll be amazed the kind of literature Vyasa, and he has not only written Ashtadasha Puranani. Ashtadasha Puranani is the 18 Puranas. He said Dopa Puranani also is, and Mahabharata itself is one sloka. If you ask anybody in the last about 20 years, name any 2 books for literature who got a Nobel Prize, actually I can't think of it. But what Vyasa wrote, 5,000 years, a man like that, even if you give 1,000 Nobel Prizes, it come here. That is the kind of, and you should go in theory of the karma. I just want to, this karma theory, where does it come from? It came from Manusmriti. Manusmriti was supposed to be the first man, Hiranyagarbha. And thereafter, it is mentioned in Gita, it is mentioned in Skanda Purana. Skanda Purana, out of the 18 Puranas, is the largest Purana. It has got 84,000 slokas. The name Skanda Purana, Skanda is Kartikeya. How he was, how he took birth, to kill Tarkasura, and how Shiva and Parvati had to be, the union had to be brought. That Manmatha, he put the arrow, the Cupid arrow, and all, it's all there. I won't go into those things. So there's so much of literature which is there, and each one of them, for us to even decode one sloka, it takes a lot, because we have moved away so much. How a person could have written so much? And after all, somebody has written. It is there. And the laws of karma, if you see, somebody has made the laws of karma. These laws have remained unchanged. You see the United Nations Constitution, it was made in 1789. They got the independence, I think, in 1776 by declaration of Philadelphia and all that. And it took 13 years for them to draft the laws, constitution. And in 1789, they have come out with about 27 amendments, not much for about 225 years old democracy. But whereas we have about 450 odd articles, and in that we already made about 104 amendments. And everything, people make, because these are made by men, and the ones which have been made, the karma theory, it has not gone through any amendment, not by humans, not by anybody, because it is a perfect law, infallible law. Okay. And the next is, it is unexceptional. Unexceptional is, I could somehow never understand this, in bank and finances and all this. They say 3 years or 6 months, whichever is earlier and all. It's very, very complicated when they talk in those terms. Your term will be either 60 years or 3 years, whichever is earlier. वो सोचने में भी टाइम लग जाता था. So it does not make any exceptions. It's very, very clear. The law is very clear. The third is, it's a universal law. It's not just for Indians and Hindus and Sanatan Dharma, those who are here. Any person was born anywhere in any part of the world, it is there. Some people say, "Bhai, hum isko nahi mante." Okay, it is there. But it still remains. And karma takes it. What exactly the karma will come to. And now here we'll be talking about why good people get punished, and why evil people, they enjoy all the. Here again it is karma. First of all, let's understand what is karma. Karma is any action which has got an equal and opposite reaction. Everything is good. If I drop this glass, it breaks. It is instant. If I got a headache, I take a pill, and then immediately I get cured. But if I prepare for an exam and take my exam, and after 3 months or 6 months, the results will come out. So also, once a conception takes place in the womb, the child comes only after 9 months. So it has got a process. If I start preparing for my IAS exam today, I'll get into the academy after about 1.5 years or 2 years. So it need not be. So some karmas which they take long to fructify. So there are 3 types of karmas. Kriyamana karma. One is Kriyamana karma, is what you do daily. You get up in the morning, you eat, drink, sleep, quarrel, fight, write, read. Everything is a karma. Now that all goes into your account. And once each of these is a karma, and once it goes into your account, every soul has got an account. That soul doesn't change. We all know that. It is indestructible. So the same soul, it is just like your Aadhaar card. Aapka Aadhaar card, it is there, or number mil gaya. It will go only when you drop your deha and go. That's all. Okay. So that soul has got a permanent account. So all your karmas are getting accumulated there. And the accumulated portion is the Sanchit karma. And Sanchit karma runs into thousands and thousands, millions and billions of this karma. Then uske baad mein jo hai, you have prarabdha karma. So in court, there are a lot of cases. If you are running a big company, every day there are 10-15 cases being filed, and there are 2,000 cases pending, like Tatas and Birlas, big cases hote hain. So the law department keeps saying, so today there are 5 cases coming up for hearing. so also prarabdha karma. Out of this sanchita karma, whatever fructifies comes, that is the prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is also, it can be good, it can be bad, but it is, you have to experience. You can't run away from karma. Karma is such a thing that if I'm working in a bank and I get posted in a Naxal infected area, and immediately I know somebody from the finance department, he says, yeah, is the posting badli kar do. So I'm telling you, I have known a couple of cases wherein that man, one of my distant relatives, and then he tried to change the posting somewhere in Andhra, and that the posting came in, and then he died of an accident in the city. Then going karma, there are so many stories we all know. If you take any 10 case studies, you can't. So karma is something you can't escape. How do you sort of beat karma then? The only way you can beat karma is in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, Arjuna says, Bahuni Janmani Vyatitani, we both together have seen lots of janmas. Only thing I remember and you don't remember. That's what is. So it is, karma is basically the cause and effect, whatever there is a cause. So anything that you do, now how do you put an end to this cycle of birth and birth, death and recycle? Punarapi janmam, punarapi maranam. It's a Bhajagovindam. There's a very beautiful again composition by Shankaracharya. Someday, if we get the chance, we can discuss that Bhagavad the thing. It's a beautiful philosophy, and again written in very, very simple sort of Sanskrit, and it is put to tunes in different classical style, like classical style, and we can all sing it. Now, whatever you do, it has got to, either there is a punya or a papa. If it's a good deed, it begets punya, and if it's a bad deed, you get the papa. The punya and papa, they go along. So bilkul saath saath charte hain. And there is no way you can sort of it's not mathematical. Like suppose I can have 70 punyas and 30 papas, so you'll say, yaar, 70 में से 30 निकाल दो, मेरे 40 सब करवा लेना. It doesn't happen like that. You have to go through all these 30, the experience, experience of papas. These are two separate things. Now, when you have accumulated so much of your karmas, now till such time the karmas are completely expended, you will not get moksha. So what exactly is moksha? Moksha is liberation. Very briefly, moksha is nothing but liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation from karma. Liberation from everything. And till such time you have karma, you will come back again to experience their results. So how do you make this zero? So first of all, whatever the Kriyamana karma, you reduce that. You start, but how can you reduce your daily activities? Khana, pina, you're working, you can't stop that. The only way you can do it is, Lord Krishna says that you don't take the ownership. Kartutvam, that is, karta, I am the karta, I am the one who's doing it. Kartutvam is, I don't take the responsibility for doing it. Like a soldier who's there on the border, he kills the 10 people and he receives a medal, he comes back because he done this as a sort of a duty. But there is another criminal, he's killed just one man and he is to be hanged. So both have done the same thing, but the intentions are different. So there are various ways of things. So first of all, you reduce that. Once that becomes zero, then you have got this, your sanchita karma. So सबसे पहले तो you tackle that. Whatever your day-to-day you are doing, you reduce that. Okay. And then they don't go into account. Whatever you are doing, I tell you, for instance, actions under unconscious insane mind. That means a madman who's there, oh, kisi ko, he stabs somebody and he kills him. He is not in a state of mind. That does not go into his karma account. These are some of the exceptions. Action in other than human, for instance, life, they are also bhutas. All these animals, everything has got an atma. Like if an animal which goes and kills unknowingly something, because animal hasn't got that intellect. Okay, they are spared from this. And action of animals don't the thing. That action done without bias or ragadvesha. You don't do like a magistrate. He orders hanging of a criminal. He has got nothing against that. Magistrate, it's his duty. He has done it. So there is no ragadvesha involved. And action without ego, then there's a compulsive force of destiny. Sometimes, we do a thing, the destiny takes you. That's where the karma sort of this thing comes. So we are talking about sanchit karma. Now, sanchit karma, how do you get rid of it? It's a bag. It is if your FD, it's a huge amount. If it is a real money, I would have probably gone to Switzerland and bought a big villa. So एक ही साथ पूरा खर्च हो जाता है. But how do you sort of do this? There is only one, and that is through jnana. In Vedanta, jnana is the only one. And jnana is what? Jnana not of how to make a particular type coffee pudding or something like that. Not that jnana, or how to assemble a car or something like that. This jnana is Atma Jnana, self-realization. It is also called Brahma Jnana. Now, how do you do the self-realization? It is done through either through a guru or swadhyaya. And when the self-realization does, you attain moksha. So moksha is a very, very, and in fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there is another thing is, Yathaidhansi Samit Agni. This I'm talking about Sanchita Karma. Accumulated Sanchita Karma, how do you dissolve that? He says, Yathaidhansi Samit Agni Bhasmat Kurte Arjuna. That means a forest fires. How does a forest fire get one matchstick is enough? वो पूरा जो है ये जल जाता है. Similarly, all your karmas, which has been accumulated over the years, can all go in one sort of stroke of it is Jnanagni Sarvakarmani Bhasmat Kurute Tata. So once you have the self-realization come, your Sanchita Karma becomes zero, and that is how you attain moksha. In 15th chapter of Gita again, he says, Natat bhasayate suryaha, na shashanko na pavakaha, yad gatvana nivartante tadhama parama mama. It's a beautiful thing. Please go and visit this sloka, read, try and understand. It gives you so much of peace. It says, Natat bhasayate surya. Krishna is telling Arjuna, there is that world where the sun does not shine. Na shashanko na pavakaha. Even moon is not there. There is no Agni also na pavaka. Yad gatvana nivartante. He who goes there does not come back. Tad dhama parvama. That is my abode. So that is what moksha. Everybody in life strives for moksha. Good old days, whenever we were asked what is the aim of life, we would all say it is moksha. We didn't understand, but it was a standard answer. But today, a lot of youngsters, they do not. They say, what is the aim of life? To get a good degree, to go to US, get a visa, get a good wife, get a beautiful, bungalow. That's the same thing with girls. There's boys, girls, they're all the same. To get a good spouse, good car, and enjoy life. And then you come back again in the next journey. You don't know, you can be anything, right from a peon to mochi or anybody. So you don't know. You think it's going to be, life is going to be the same, but you don't know what your karmas are. That's the problem with karma, that you don't know what you accumulated and how much is balanced. वो पता नहीं चलता इसके अंदर. There is a very interesting this thing. Himaji, I have some more time. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah. Because since it's not very,
time.
it's not very structured, one can go, because a whole lot of this Sanskrit ka jo hai, it keeps coming back one after the other, one after the other. I'll wind up just 5-10 minutes before you just say. In the meanwhile, if anybody has got questions, you can just put it in the chat box, and you can club similar questions, Hemaji, and just let me know. I'll try and answer. I'm not an expert. We have a lot of very well-read people here. Every day I keep reading these comments, and with very, very advanced kind of a thing. I'm just giving my experiences. Yeah, I was talking about, there's a very interesting thing in Ramayana when we're talking about value system. In when Rama was to be coronated, Ayodhya was decked up, and early in the morning people got up at 4:30. The floral, the bunting, and music in the air, and the sun was coming up and all. That is the time Kaikeyi, she went to Kopa Bhavan. There is a thing called Kopa Bhavan. It used to be there in good old days, that they had a lot of palaces, had plenty of rooms and all, bhavans and all. And Kopa Bhavan was, whenever any queen got angry, she would go there, and that is the place where some kind of sulking and throwing up tantrums. That is called the Kopa Bhavan. So the moment Dashratha came to know, he says, "Ya bhai, aaj koi gadbad hai. Aaj subere coronation hai, 8-9 baje." And then when he went there, and sure enough, Mandira, who had instigated her, and she was in no mood to relent. She told Dashratha in no uncertain terms, "Rama will go to the forest." And Dashratha was absolutely grief-stricken, and he sent for Rama. They were he was in another palace. And Rama knew the moment the message came from his father. He said, "Why would the king call me at this early morning? In any case, everything is fine there." So that person must have gone and told, Raja Sahab ne Ram Ram bola hai. He must have said something like that. And immediately Rama knew. He went and he asked his father, "You called me?" He said, "Yes, I called you." And there's not much of dialogue. I'm talking about Valmiki Ramayana. If you read, and Hemaji, she's been reading, I think, Ramayana, she'll tell you. In the Valmiki Ramayana, he just tells his son, "You have to go to the forest for 14 years. And then what do you expect Rama to say? He'll say, "Done." And he says, "Wait, I got these conditions." He tells him other 2 conditions, and he goes away. Can you imagine that level of, the compliance and obedience? Aajkal ka hota to ise, "I'll take a stay in the court," and you go to the Supreme Court. It will take another few months, and that sort of thing. At that time, there were Raj Gurus. There were Vasistha, and these people who would tell the king, and the king was a representative of the god. And it is only some dharma, this Rajguru used to be there, who used to guide them. Today we have got a court, and they have their own rules and all this. So, and the second thing is, I wanted to just before I conclude, 1 or 2 experiences. There is one. Anybody can be a guru. Anybody who needs you a thing. I'll tell you one example. In Bangalore, long time back, about 15 years back, once I was in a Xerox shop on the Brigade Road, and there was a cobbler who was sitting down, Mochi just both there. He was mending some chapel there. It was a very hot day. It was one of the hottest days of Bangalore, I remember. And he had an old umbrella, and he didn't have a shirt on top, and he was doing some mending. And then there was a cart was selling, a cart seller in the banana. He was, so he had a fight with one of the labor. They both were quarreling among themselves, something about price. He said, you said 10 rupees, 2 bananas, you give me only one, and something like that. And I kept watching. And after some time, the cobbler said, he says, what's the problem? So he said, no. He said, the problem kya ultimately? He says, usne mere ko 5 rupiya dena hai. So this cobbler took out from his thing and he gave it to him. He says, you both are the same. We are fighting, we are struggling. Here you see that car which is parked, and I could sort of understand. I know Tamil very well. I could understand. He said, look, that car is parked there, that fellow pays 20 rupees parking fees. What is that 5 rupees? He said, his hunger makes it so. So I was very touched. I said, why didn't it occur to me? Even I could have given him the 5 or 10 rupees. So I learned, I had never forgotten that lesson after that. And then, then I went and asked him. I said, what made you? He said, sir, we are all the same. After all, how much? I can't make a big building out of this. The least thing is, he's hungry. I can. So I said, I gave him about 10 rupees. So he looked at me. And then he looked at my shoe. He says, anything to be done? I said, no, I'm just giving. He says, no, I don't take. Don't take my punya away. He says, I'll repair, I'll polish your shoe, and I learn. What high ideals. So, and it's been almost 15 years, but I still remember this. So even today, when I go to a shop, I find a small child in a thing. The other day, a chap came, he went to a hotel and then he was asking for the food to be packed. He said, how much? The shopkeeper said, the hotel chap said, sir, 15 rupees per meal. 50 rupees per meal. This fellow was counting, He had only about 20. I didn't tell him anything. I just told him, I just told the owner that give him a free meal. And not because I have done it. It is the mochi. He is Rob Guru. So anybody can be your teacher, small people. Especially in India, we learn a lot. And Rajasthan, once I was traveling in a bus, and then we were all in the tourist thing. There was a small child who had to be taken. There's no milk available. In one small hut, somebody gave, old couple, they gave the milk from their side. We asked him how, they said, we don't take this money. And sure enough, 1 hour before, we had taken the money from a hotel. They put for half a kg of milk, they had put about 50 rupees plus GST plus this tax plus this tax. He said, "Sir, hum log jo hai paisa bachon ke liye nahi." So we in India, we got very high values, and there's a lot more I can share with you. I'll keep it for my next class because I think I have overshot the time given. And next class, I can
forgive me to interject, Colonel Sahab. You can still go on for another 15 minutes without any issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
that will be very nice. That will be very nice. Now I can. No, I thought because 90 minutes for people to sit down and listen, it can be quite challenging for anybody. Okay, I'll be very happy. Now, generally, there is a misconception that you ask anybody what is life, what is Hinduism, what is Sanatan Dharma. They'll say it's a way of life. It's become almost a fashion without understanding. It's not a way of life. Hinduism is actually, if you follow, there are in the Yoga Shastra, it's very clearly written what exactly they are: yamas and niyamas. In Ashtanga Yoga, there are yamas, niyamas, your asanas, pranayama, pratyahara, and all these things. There are 8 of them. Out of that, the first 2 are very important. The first one, I'll just my computer is a little bit off. Yeah. So in the first is Yama. Yama and Niyama are supposed to be do's and don'ts. Okay. First we'll say take do's. The first thing is ahimsa. No, the first do is we are supposed to follow ahimsa. And it is not the ahimsa which Buddha had, it was there in our thing all the time. And ahimsa does not necessarily mean don't kill animals, don't eat meat. That is what is our understanding. But ahimsa also means don't sort of insult somebody. Don't cause any mental sort of, even if when you abuse, or even if a North Day has a wife has prepared a very good dish, and then the salt is less, and you say, yeah, bekar ka khana banaya, that is good enough. I mean, it is a ahimsa. It is himsa. It is not ahimsa. It is a himsa. Or a child hasn't done well in school. He said, bekar, saath wale, the papu ko dekho, he has scored so much of marks, and and that will remain all his life. So it is basically, the first is ahimsa. The second is satya. So we are always taught from childhood that speak the truth, and ultimately, trikaleshu yattistati tat satya. Trikaleshu yattistati ityukte, that means what it means is yesterday, today, and tomorrow. In all three states, it should hold good. That is supposed to be satya. Okay. So be truthful. Although there are, some concessions made in some extreme sort of circumstances, wherein, like it happened in Mahabharata. I'm telling you offhand, whatever is coming, I haven't this thing. Like in Mahabharata, there was one case when this Ashwatthama was to be killed. No, Ashwatthama was the name of an elephant. And then your Dronacharya had to be killed. Dronacharya was a great warrior. He could not be killed that easily. And Krishna had told your Yudhishthira, the only way you can do is by saying that Ashwatthama has been killed. Because Ashwatthama was Dronacharya's son. And he was very, very close to him. And then, I mean, that Putra Moha, which is there, what you call Putra Moha. So he was very, very attached to him. And then he said, the moment you say he'll drop his bow and arrow, that's the time you can he tells Arjuna to kill him. So Yudhishthira, he says, I can't tell a lie because this thing. He says, no, you don't tell a lie. You just say Ashwatthama Naropungaha. There is a sloka in Mahabharata. What it means is, there is Ashwatthama, an elephant, which had been killed. And then Bhima was to say it. But they say Bhima has got no credibility. Bhima ko bolne se koi manenge nahi. But when Yudhishthira says it, he has got a high credibility. He says it. So this is also one of in the karmas. But karma did not, that particular karma, although Yudhishthira had told a lie, it did not go into his account. And the moment, and it was to be said quite loudly among the din of the battle. And when he said it very loudly, then your Dronacharya heard that and then immediately put the arrow. Then that was the time Krishna said, kill him. So sometimes, these some concession can be made. The second. So Satya. The third is Astheya. Do not steal. Stealing does not mean I come to your house and I pick up a knife, some artifact or something like that, or take money from your thing, your servant steals something. It's not only that. It is also stealing an idea. In the research field, it always happens. Somebody has done a lot of work, plagiarism, what they say. So that is also stealing. And the third is brahmacharya. Brahmacharya does not mean abstaining from sex. Brahmacharya only means doing a little, having a restraint, having a restraint, whatever in your the family life. And the last thing is aparigraha. Do not covet another's wealth. Ravana tried to covet another's wife. So that is aparigraha. You covet another's property. You covet another's territory. So do not know. These are the 5 things. And in the other one, which comes yama and niyama, your first is shaucha. Shaucha is cleanliness. Cleanliness is not just about having a bath and keeping yourself, neat, clean. Cleanliness is also doing meditation and burning all your desires and burning all your, your bad thoughts and all, purification of the mind. I would say it's a purification of the mind. And then shaucha, then the next is santosha, contentment. You will get whatever you deserve. You only get that much what you deserve, no matter how much you find. You must have seen some people really slog and slog and slog. Success never comes to them. Whereas some people, they just tried. In fact, in this very forum, I heard somebody say, I've been having a very nice time and, nothing has come to because of your karmas. So some people, life is very easy. Some people, it is struggle all the way. But when you struggle, also remember your karmas are melting down, and your kriyamana karma is coming down. So it's a good sign. It's not that you start praying that I should get bad times so that in order to, it will come whether you ask or not. That's what karma is. And the third thing, swadhyaya, tapaha. The third is tapaha. Tapaha is nothing but penance, deep, perseverance. Keep doing whatever you're doing. That is tapaha. Fourth is swadhyaya. Now, swadhyaya is very important, especially people from our age group. We have a lot of time to read, write. We have total freedom. And fortunately, we're living in a country wherein there is a lot of freedom, no matter what people say. But I have not come across this kind of errors and such good weather. In most European and Northern Hemisphere countries, you find the life is only about 4 or 5 months. Rest of the time, it's all very struggle. If you look at it in Europe, in US and all, the northern part, the snow starts and, well, it has got its own charm for a short while. But for us, who are, and we are such a diversity of cultures and languages and all. And the last one is Ishvara Paridhana. Ishvara Paridhana is surrender to them. And in the end, there is one, the thing is, all these things matter little. The sum of Gita is in the end, in the 18th chapter, he says, he says, Krishna tells Arjuna, give up everything and come into my Sharan. And, I'll take you to the moksha. And you should do it with a lot of devotion and bhakti. And the other ways of attaining moksha are through karma, but it's a very, very long process. The easiest is through japa and jnana. And jnana comes through swadhyaya, what I just said in the niyama thing. And the last one is Sarva Dharman. Yeah, it is Sarva Dharman Paritajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. Give up everything. At that time, there were no other religions and all to say, but when he says religion here, Sarva Dharma, when he says your duties, give up every other beliefs and come under my Sharan. Aham Sarva Papebhya Mokshisham Masuta. Mashuta. He said, don't worry. Don't sort of get worried about what's going to happen. Give up everything. Sharanangati. It is total. And in bhakti, if you're following, last is the bhakti marg. Easiest is bhakti marg. Forget about karma, forget about, the thing. Easiest is bhakti marga. There are 9 types of bhakti. Some other day we can discuss on that in a very informal way. And all 9 types are valid. And in the 9 types, you have Shravanam, Kirtim, Mananam, I'm forgetting all that, the 9 of them. And each one of them, including Sakha. Sakha is having a friend, God, treating God as a friend is also. And the last one is Sharanam. And if there are any questions, ma'am, I can take on. Otherwise,
anybody has a question, you can please ask. Yes, Rakesh ji, please पूछिए.
हाँ सर, ये दक्षिणेश्वर क्या है जो आप कह रहे?
हाँ जी,
दक्षिणेश्वर आपने कहा
नहीं, दक्षिणामूर्ति शब्द है. I think Rakesh is referring to your reference to Dakshinamurti.
Dakshinamurti. Yeah, Dakshinamurti is a form of Shiva. And in every Shiva temple, you find the Murti of Dakshinamurti. Only thing is, it faces the south. And the form is almost that of Shiva, except that Shiva is blue, that Nilkantha, what that is the thing. But whereas Dakshinamurti is shown in different pictures as brown and all, and he's got on his left hand a flame kind of a thing, and then it really works. He's supposed to be the knowledge form of Shiva. And it's very clearly said that anybody who doesn't have a guru come to me, and I go with a total faith, and it was. And you find Swami Dayananda Ashram, wherever they are, or wherever there are Shiva temples in Tamil Nadu, in South and all, Dakshinamurti is given a very, very prominent, that is where the knowledge. So I thought I'll just share for those who are struggling without a guru, looking for a guru. Namaskar, sir. Bahut dhanyawad.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else wants to ask a question? They can unmute.
Well,
Ji sir, can you?
yeah, I've unmuted myself.
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Please.
Yeah. Actually, I don't have a question. Firstly, my heartfelt compliments for great knowledge. What you have espoused here, it's fantastic. But my real thanks to the general who's selecting all soldiers and getting them here is Rashmi ma'am. Rashmi ma'am, you are a general who are getting all soldiers and getting into Brahm Prakash Gaur's army. And I'm so glad this army is growing leaps and bounds and is really going great. And you are a general, you're picking up all soldiers like us. And great going, Brahm Prakash ji. Gaur sahab, aapki army bhad rahi hai.
I think I need to respond to this. We are all soldiers here.
We are all soldiers. You are a leader.
We are all soldiers here.
Yeah.
And the generals are up in the heavens and they are pulling the strings. So we have to be really ready to serve. That's all. Wonderful. And our job is to serve. So all our lives we have served for some cause or the other in our own professional spheres or whatever. But here we have come here to serve each other and learn from it. And that is what
एक आदमी होता ना आगे लालटेन लेके चलता है तो you are a लालटेन who's carrying it us and we all falling behind and people like Rashmi ji are the ones who actually इकट्ठा कर रहे हैं इसके पीछे आओ यहाँ है रास्ता thank you, it's been wonderful and great talk.
इसमें ऐसी बात है कि ये जो the group is being put together by those people.
Yes, you're right.
So it is their inspiration that we are getting people like Rashmi brought the two of you. So it is just that there is some divine power which is working, and it is. And because perhaps it is also because of the fact that we have kept our focus on the Guru principle. Because Colonel Sahib talked about the Dakshinamurti. There's a beautiful Dakshinamurti Stotra, which is very popular in South India and everywhere. I wish I could sing it. Perhaps I would learn it and sing it someday.
Yeah.
But that is how it works. And one of our great masters I had met, Soli Tavaria ji. So somebody asked him, कि साहब ये आप गायत्री मंत्र कहते हैं सबको ही करो, उसको करने के लिए तो इनिशिएशन होना चाहिए, ये होना चाहिए. तो उन्होंने बहुत अच्छे से हंस कर कहा, ये जो दिन भर तुम बकबक करते हो किसी से पूछ कर करते हो क्या? just do it, and when the time comes, then the Guru will appear and take care. But we are all here to serve. That's all. And it is very important because in this group we have people who are really seeking. And there are many masters, they may not know it, but they are meant to be masters and they are going to be great teachers to you. So it's our privilege to serve. And Colonel Saab, thank you so much. It was a wonderful talk. And I wish we could have that spirit of learning that you have and learn the scriptures and do a PhD or something. It's really commendable. Wonderful.
Sir, I'm Armaiti speaking.
Yes, Armaiti.
I just wanted to know if you can send us that hymn he started with in the beginning.
Armaiti, I will post it. It is a very popular hymn. And in our Swadhyaya Sudha, the ashram chanting book, it is there.
Okay, okay.
So you don't really need posting.
Okay.
If you have the Swadhyaya Sudha,
yeah,
it is one of the hymns there.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. It was very nice. Thank you, Rashmi ji.
Brahma Prakash ji, I just wanted to say, it's an afterthought. There's a very beautiful story of half the problem with us is that aham, which comes. So there's a very nice story about a crow, which because I'm sure most of you would have heard it, which was carrying a piece of meat and it was being chased by an eagle. And wherever the crow went, the crow tried to save itself from branch to branch, and it was getting tired. And ultimately it was accosted by Garuda. So Garuda said, what's the problem? He said, these git, they're all following me. So he said, you drop that meat. So it dropped the meat, and then, all the gits go away there. He said, they're not after you, they're after your meat. So in most of the cases, is that ego which is sort of being chased, our ego. The moment you drop that, I think, then you're safe, something like that.
Thank you.
I think we don't have any more questions. There are a lot of thank you and words of appreciation for today's talk.
I'm very grateful, ma'am. It's all what little I know. I thought I'd just share with you, and it was we are a very, very enlightened audience.
Vatsala, let us have Vatsala here. She has written about the cobbler's story. She found it very, very inspiring.
Vatsala ma'am, can you switch on your? Yes. Please switch on your video so that I can pin you.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Namaste, Colonel Saab. To what you said about the cobbler, you made a very important point. If you are but aware, there is so much to learn from. There is nobody high or mighty. There is nobody little or small. There is a pearl of wisdom to be obtained from every experience, from every human interaction. You have brought it out by a beautiful story. I think I'll keep thinking about it for a long time to come. I think there is a poem, Lessons in Stones and Sermons in Brooks, the old English poem. I think reminded me of that. Thank you for a lovely talk, Colonel Ji. It was very nice.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So kind of you.
And it kind of felt like Reshmi Ji's invocation was like a kind of homecoming, and your Nirvana Shadakam was really moved. I switched off. There were tears flowing from my eyes.
Thank you for the compliment, ma'am. Thank you.
It was like a homecoming for me. And the Nirvana Shadakam really moved me. It's very, very meditative. Thank you, Colonel Ji. It was such a nice start to a lovely discourse.
Thank you so much. So kind of.
I think we can close the session. Rashmi Ji.
After the compliment of God Sir and General Kundra, I am left only with two words. That is, thank you, Colonel Vijay, for this lovely evening. It's insightful evening, and we will look forward for the next Tuesday with full enthusiasm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. You all made my day. Thank you so much. God bless you all.